Hey guys, welcome to another video. This is the first video in a new video series called Bicycle Touring, Everything You Need to Know. In this series, I will feature every country I cycle through and give you some information about what bicycle touring is like in this country. I'll also give you some general facts about the country and of course share some of my personal experiences I had when I cycled across these countries. The goal is to cover every country in the world because my plan is to cycle across every country in the world. I've already cycled through 8 of them, so there will be coming 8 videos over the next months. But now, as you can see, I'm home in the Netherlands preparing for my next trip, which will be the continuation of my European bike tour. Trying to cycle across all the European countries that I still have left to do. Before we start off, I want to say please subscribe to my channel as this helps me out a lot, making my dreams come true and of course sharing my experiences with you and inspire other people to make their dreams come true as well. So consider subscribing if you haven't already, and let's jump into our first country, the Netherlands. So this might be an easy one for me because I am from the Netherlands and have lived here for pretty much 99% of my life. But there are subtle things here that I think are totally normal, but for outsiders it might not be so normal. One of those things is of course the bicycle culture here. There are more bikes than people in the Netherlands. Seriously, they are everywhere. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I want to divide these videos in topics. Those topics are landscape, view on cycling, people, and finance. Alright, the first topic is landscape of this country. Now, the highest point of the Netherlands is just about 332 meters above sea level, and about 60% of the country is actually below sea level, so don't expect too many hills in the east, and pretty much all flat ground in the west, maybe except for that one bridge. Holland is also pretty crowded, and the west being the most crowded. In the west, villages just border each other and leave little room for any nature. I also pretty much live in the middle of that crowded part. If you do want to see some nature, you could go to the Veluwe, which is the biggest nature park in Holland, located in the middle of the country. Or you could go to the dunes, which are actually close to where I live along the coast, which are actually pretty unique because they protect us from the North Sea. Other sites you could visit might include Amsterdam, Madurodam, The Hague, or Rotterdam. Also, the cities Utrecht and Leiden are pretty beautiful with some pretty old buildings and canals, but actually count a lot less tourists than Amsterdam, for example. You could also check out the Deltawerken in Zeeland or the Afsluitdijk between North Holland and Friesland that are huge man-made barriers that keep us from drowning. Leeuwarden in Friesland is actually the cultural capital of Europe this year, with a lot of cultural activities. So if you plan to travel to the Netherlands this year, you should check out that place as well. If you want to avoid the tourists, you can go to some of the smaller villages, often having quite a charming center, like here in my village. Now, the weather in the Netherlands is quite miserable in general. Loads of rain, loads of clouds, and it is windy here like 90% of the time. For cyclists, I suggest you start in the west and cycle eastwards because the wind comes from the southwest most of the time. The best season is of course the summer, so the months May through September are definitely the best months to cycle here. Alright, now let's get to the part this country is known for, its view on cycling. Holland is until this point probably the only country where cycling plays such an important role in the country's economy and culture. It's not just because it's fun, it's also because it's actually the fastest way to travel. Supermarkets, schools, shops are closer by for most people than in other countries, so that taking the car for like a 500-meter route to the grocery store is actually slower than taking the bike. Most people actually have a bike equipped with bags in the back or a big basket in the front where they can put in bags like groceries or other stuff. When I do grocery shopping for my parents, I often fill up the basket in front and also bring my newspaper bags on the back to bring as much stuff as I can home. Also, when I do my paper round, I load up my bike and off I go. That's why I fell in love with cycling, and I'd really recommend every bicycle tourer to visit the Netherlands at least once in their lifetime because it's probably unlike anything they've ever seen. Fun fact, during the morning commute, you can sometimes witness bicycle traffic jams occurring at certain traffic lights. There are no school buses, so most kids cycle to school, even if it's like a 10-kilometer distance or more. This also causes a phenomenon that is not present in any other country as well. The bike has more power than the car. Oftentimes when there's an accident between a car and a bike, the one on the bike is often the victim and the one in the car will be at fault. Recently there has been a trend of roads having this sign, which means that the car is the guest on the road. The safety in Holland is really good, as men and women cycle equal as much. Women also don't have to worry in this country other than watching out for those cycling maniacs. A helmet is actually not mandatory, so most people don't wear them. Even the older people can now go a lot faster because of the rise of the electric bikes. There's a good video about how to survive Dutch people on bikes. Alright, so the next segment is about the people. So what is the general mindset and how is their English? Now, Dutch people can be very hospitable and are known for their very down-to-earth like view on this world. The Netherlands do suffer from an aging population like other European countries, so there are more older people than younger people. Dutch people also really like to travel. You can find them pretty much everywhere in the world, and I met quite a few when I was on the road. Most people can therefore speak English. I think we're one of the best at it compared to other countries that have a different native language than English. It's sometimes so bad that people who try to speak Dutch get a response in English because we find it the perfect opportunity to practice our English while not practicing your Dutch. So no, you won't have any problem with the language barrier here at all, I think. So the last part is about the finances. How expensive is the Netherlands and what are the cheapest prices to stay? I think you can compare the prices to that of the UK, with Germany being a little cheaper. I think most prices are actually the same as in the US, but the portions you get are often a lot smaller here because we don't have such a thing as free refill or something. An average hostel will cost around 25 euros per night, and campgrounds are around 10 to 15 euros if you're lucky. When I cycled through Holland, I used something called the Nature Campground Pass, which costed about 15 euros a year, and with which I could go to some cheaper, simpler campgrounds that were around 5 to 12 euros. I spent 4 days here on my European bike tour and spent an average of 25 euros a day, which included a new kickstand and a charger for my laptop. So all in all, if you are a bike tourer, you should come here at least once in your life. The cycling culture is just like nowhere else on this planet. And even though we think it's totally normal and just a way of life, it's where I learned to cycle, and it has been with me all my life and will be with me as I keep on cycling around the world. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and Germany is next.